morning. This is Pam Lippitt from the Hill Street Group, and I am here today on I'm calling this now Spotlight on 2021 style because we thought we'd be over everything by now, but somehow I'm not in any group that gets a vaccine, which I guess is a good thing, but I'm not sure. So today I have Steve Kontos from PatentXP, we'll start over. Intellectual. It's been a while. I told you I'm like half asleep. Intellectual property attorney in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. Mm-hmm. And Steve and I, in full disclosure, are in the same action group from the Birmingham Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce. So we're on a Zoom call every couple weeks, and I thought what he did is really interesting, and I wanted to share it with my folks and your folks. I know a lot of people who are in that patent space or frustrated makers, as I call them, and could really use the kind of services that Steve offers. And we'll get to that in a couple minutes. So I just want to remind you that my goal is to work with, and I do work with, small businesses and nonprofits to make sure your messaging and your strategic communications are cohesive and on point. If you're a business, you want that team all speaking from the same voice. I was looking at some communication from actually an organization I'm involved in the other day, and I bought, sent a tribute, and I got this lovely wording that I thought was just spot on, but it's not the wording they use anywhere else. And I was thinking, how do I politely tell them, that's great, use the same wording everywhere as your byline. There's questions about bylines in 2021, but you should have a tagline, and everyone should be repeating the same words. So that's the kind of thing I do. And in the meantime, I chat with folks online. So Steve and I are going to chat for you all. If you have a question or a comment, feel free to put it up in the chat. I'm kind of watching that on my phone as well. If we don't get to you in during the show, one of us will get back to you after, because this will be on replay. It'll also be on LinkedIn later and on my YouTube channel. And Steve will get it as well and can share it with people he wants. So that's where we are for the moment. If we could just, Steve, introduce yourself, because we know each other in a formal setting, but not so much like this.
Yeah. So thanks for having me today. I really appreciate it. I'm Steve Kontos. I'm an intellectual property attorney in Southeast Michigan. Although, fun fact, intellectual property law is federal law, so I have clients and work with companies kind of all over the country.
I didn't know that.
But yeah, I'm born and raised in Detroit. Not quite born, but in Detroit for a long, long time. So yeah, I love our community here, and I love working with small businesses and startups, and especially those that, they don't necessarily have a lot of IP background, like they may or may not recognize its importance, and then they want to, protect their intellectual property for various reasons, and it's great to help the community.
Well, and I think that people can get taken advantage of very quickly.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I hear what people are paying, or kind of being led down different roads, I'm always surprised.
I do get a fair number of clients who come to me from, they may have started with one of the DIY services. And I get it, it's kind of easy. You can go online, you can submit some information and maybe get something filed, maybe with a little bit of handholding from a lawyer, but there's no strategy or anything. And so when they start to get pushback from the patent examiner or the trademark examiner, they get a little overwhelmed and then they reach out to me. They don't really appreciate the nuance and complexity of IP law, but they don't, they're newer entrepreneurs. They may not have relationships with law firms or lawyers, which is why they went that route in the first place. So, and we can talk later about it, but we're actually doing a lot to make IP services more accessible to people who who may not have those sorts of relationships, but really need the help and need the hand holding. And,
That's great.
I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs, you probably know from your experience with that, they want to be involved. Like they may not want to do the accounting every day, but they want to know what their bookkeeper's doing. And same with the marketing, like they want to be involved and it's the same with IP. They want to kind of understand what's going on, although they don't necessarily have the time or skill set to, do the day-to-day work.
I would actually flip it and say, if they don't want to know what's going on, it's a bigger problem.
It's a big red flag. Yeah.
Especially with the bookkeeping piece. Because you can have a marketing piece that you have to rework. You can't find money you've lost.
Right. Yeah.
And the IRS isn't so happy about that. So
yeah, exactly. Like entrepreneurs who I think it's okay to be scared of the finances, to be scared of the numbers, but you've still got to do it. And to me, a big red flag, I mean, you and I both speak with a lot of new entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And one of the red flags to me is when they're completely disconnected from the finances. Like they won't even attempt to understand it. And I'm like, this may not be a long business for you.
So in my last position, I actually, I don't know if you even know this, I ran the Entrepreneurship Program for a company that repped SolidWorks software. And I grew the Entrepreneurship Program from about 18 people to about 300. And so I should share it with you. I had a whole document of like a drip marketing campaign that went to them throughout the year, just kind of reminding them different things, because I was really hand holding, because if they succeeded, they needed the software to purchase it, listen, but that's how I was brought in, to handhold and make sure. And the very first thing I said to everyone is, you cannot remortgage your house for a business, because it is shocking how many people do that. And then you're like, oh, now we don't have a business and we don't have a roof over our house, or over ourselves. And if that had happened a year ago, that's really, I feel really bad for people like that who get that advice, or even for the lenders who agree to that. So it's a lot of hand holding.
There is some of that, like more predatory behavior in the intellectual property world, where you get these companies that will make all sorts of promises about, send us your idea, we'll protect it with a patent, and then we'll go out and market it. And I don't know, I guess anyone who's been through it before and knows what it takes to build a business, to get a product out to market, no one is doing that for you for free. Right. Or if they're offering to, they're not going to do a good job. But it's just these business models are set up to take advantage of people like that. And so that's why one of the things we want to do here with our firm is to make IP services more accessible, so that, we're a good alternative to some of those other services that are out there. And we've got a great network, like people like you, obviously, who can help small businesses, people who can help with tooling and manufacturing, and like web development, app design, all those things, because it really does take a lot to build a business and to make it successful. And, somebody filing a paper with the government and then taking it to a trade show is doesn't count. It rounds to zero. I want to back up, because, people my age, because aren't we the same age?
I
think we are. Yeah.
Okay. Talk about, trademarks and things like that. But really the term intellectual property is a newer term. So let's go back a second, define that for people, so people understand it's much more than your logo or your design.
So there are, from a legal perspective, which I know no one likes to talk about how the sausage is made, but I'm going to anyway.
Except the person making the sausage.
Right. So intellectual property typically refers to maybe 4 different things in the legal world. And they are patents, trademarks, copyrights, and trade secrets. Okay. I think if you're an entrepreneur, I think the better way to think about it is take a step back, look at what gives your business a competitive advantage. Like, what did you come up with that causes people to choose your product or your service over those of your competitors. So if it's your brand name, great, we'll get you a trademark. If it's your logo, like if people see your name and logo and they know that they're going to get a certain quality of product and you're concerned that of counterfeits or whatever, yeah, absolutely, we can protect that. If you're an author, you've got
written
content you're creating that needs to be protected. That's through copyright. If it's an invention, if your invention has particular features, if you came up with a new way to do something, a new manufacturing process or whatever, that's all patents. So that's why I like to, rather than thinking about it in terms of, patents and trademarks, it's, why are people hiring you? Like, how is your business making money? And then is there anything based on that answer, what can we do to give you the legal protections to make sure no one else can copy that from you?
So that makes a lot of sense. And it makes a lot of sense early in the game, as opposed to, it's always better to protect yourself early than spend money defending yourself.
Well, so yeah, there's a couple reasons why for that. One is on the patent side, if you don't apply for a patent soon enough, you waive your patent rights. So if you don't even start the process, you could be dedicating your invention to the public. So it's critical very early on in the development phase to engage a patent lawyer to at least talk about it and get that process started. With something like trademarks, I guess it gets a little bit nuanced, but the earlier the better. Like, for example, a lot of business owners will go out and register a business without investigating the name. The state will give them the registration because the state just does a search on their website.
Right.
They don't look nationally. They don't look internationally. They don't look for likelihood of confusion. They're literally looking for the exact literal phrase. And then, you're operating, and then a year later, you find out some company across the country has rights to the name, and now you've got to spend all this time and effort rebranding.
Right.
Like there's this company. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go. Go.
I was going to say there's this company that just announced a rebranding effort because they were sued by Apple because their logo was, Apple says, too close to Apple's logo. And so they could have saved all sorts of trouble had they just investigated that.
Right.
And avoided that situation. Although maybe it's good publicity because I'd never heard their product before. And now I know.
Right. Kind of like Aunt Jemima announced their name new name this morning.
Oh, did they? I didn't see that, but obviously they were rebranding for a completely different purpose.
Right.
And which is kind of bizarre. It's like that weird realm between trademark law and First Amendment law and all that. And it's
and also, it's a whole different issue and world. And I always looked at Aunt Jemima as comfort. So the new name is going to have, so I can't even imagine how many millions, if not billions of dollars they spent on coming up with the new name and the new logo and all that. So don't worry, if you buy their syrup, you'll pay for it later. The other thing I don't know. There are actually people watching this, so shocking.
I promoted it very heavily.
I saw, which is great. People will watch it later. You'll get the stats and stuff. But we're really lucky, if you're not in Southeast Michigan, to know that in Southeast Michigan, we have two things that others don't have that are really great. And one is we actually have a patent office downtown.
Yeah, right.
And we were one of the first patent offices outside of DC. I think there's only 3 outside of DC.
We were the first satellite patent office.
Yes. And so I've actually taken a tour of it, and I've taken groups on tours of it. And it's really interesting and can cut a lot of time out of something to be able to go down and knock on the window. Not now probably, and the other thing we have, and I'll tag Dan Rumdowski later, is we have the Centropolis, which is a combination of Southfield and Lawrence Tech.
Right.
The accelerator, which is a product-based accelerator. So you have to be making something. So if you're watching this and you are actually making a product and you're thinking about space, or you're thinking about being in an accelerator, just give Dan my name and it will, I hope it will take you further. But that's a really interesting place for people to look at. That I think we're the only one in the Midwest is at Lawrence Tech. So Lawrence Technological University, for those who are out of the Southeast Michigan frame. So we have a lot, look, Detroit's a makerspace, right? Detroit is a makerspace. And so we have a lot of, and we have are you frozen? No. We have the most engineers in Michigan of anywhere in the country. People forget that. And so there's some really good things to see here in Michigan and come and do here in Michigan. So when do people first call you? What point are they at? Or what point do you want them to be at?
So it kind of depends, because the IP relationship kind of lasts the entire span of their business.
Okay.
So if people call me, sometimes I'm the very first lawyer people call. It's a little unusual because I'm like, getting a patent isn't always step one, but it is very early, like starting to get that process going, especially for business formation. If they want to investigate brand names and all that, it does make sense to involve me early. You may not know that the patent process takes years. So you file your application, you don't hear anything for roughly 18 to 24 months from the examiner. And then it's another year or so after that during the examination process.
So that's where you do a provisional patent in the meantime, right? Yeah,
well, you could do a provisional, and then a year later you file the non-provisional, and then that starts the examination and all that. And then so with all IP, well, trademarks and patents specifically, once you file and once it gets allowed, there's still like ongoing work to be done. And so it really does turn into a more long-term relationship. A lot of companies don't like hearing this, but people who've never done it before don't really appreciate that if you're going to patent something, getting a patent certainly has some value, but getting a portfolio of patents has a lot more value.
Yes.
And so then it becomes, because if cash flow is a problem, which, for early stage companies are trying to get investors and all that. And so trying to do that strategy of how do we fully capture this product with patents so that no one can design around it, or our competitors are left selling something inferior or at a higher price or whatever. How do we do that in a cost-effective way? But, that may be 10, 20 patents over the course of 5-10 years. And so it really does turn into a more ongoing relationship. So I've got, clients that are, Series D, up from the angel phase up to Series D. I've got some that are, privately held. They're not in the startup realm at all. Like we work with a lot of actually Fortune companies. So with in-house legal teams, which is a completely different animal than dealing with startups.
That's for a topic, as we say, a topic for another day.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So one of the things that I thought was interesting when I looked over your website is that you talked about leveling a couple things that I really liked. I don't like that at all, so I'm going to get rid of that. Let's do this. So this is a chat. I told you up front, we're just going to chat. But so how do you say, like, that's one of the main things that you told me up front, and that I see that's on your website. So how do you level that, like working with you you, because we're going to say you're unique and you're
probably,
on the other end of I see your face, so we're just going to talk about you. How do you level that playing field?
So I think a lot of small business owners, a lot of startups don't necessarily appreciate how difficult it is to operate in certain fields. Like when your competitor has, from your perspective, an infinite amount of money and an infinite amount of resources, how easy it is for them to just crush you. And one area where intellectual property protection helps is that it gives you like those legal safeguards so that they can't crush you. And it gives you time to get your message out there, like distinguish your product, like figure out, whatever your competitive advantage is, protect it, find investors who are believe in you, and then use that to build. In the meantime, you're protected from those other companies coming in and just taking your work from you. So if you don't have a patent, and you're in the tech space, there's nothing stopping Apple or Google or Netflix or Amazon or whoever you're competing with from just coming in, seeing it's a good idea, and then releasing their own, and then crushing you with marketing. And so if you can build a patent portfolio, then you carve that out. If you've got strong brand recognition, all this money and time you're spending building your brand, if you're not going to protect it, what's stopping somebody from coming in and either selling counterfeits, which they're trading on your goodwill, or just coming in and calling their product your product name. And then, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but it really becomes much more difficult without IP protection to compete in industries with large companies.
That's interesting. So, I know this isn't really about selling your services, more chatting, but I did notice that you have like a set pricing for people as opposed to like not knowing. And I actually do that for my clients too. I create a project and figure out a price to set so they know where we're at.
Yeah.
Tell me how you made that decision.
Well, I would encourage any startups to push their lawyer to move to a flat fee model. Partially because, if you're doing work for a large company, you can just say, this is our fee, it's X number of dollars per hour. And they say, okay, well, we send you enough work, so you're going to cap it at this amount. And the law firm's like, yeah, okay. With startups, though, it's completely different. It's, they're on a budget. They're worried about cash flow. They've got investors that they need to explain how they're using this money. And so if I go to them and say, this is what a patent costs, it costs X number of dollars, that just makes it easy for everybody. Like, I know what I'm getting into. They know what they're getting into. Their investors, everyone knows what the expectation is. So that's why we do everything flat fee. I don't know what my hourly rate is. I work with my advisors to come up with a good, model for, planning out our pricing and all that. So there was a ton of work that went into it, but it's very different from what most law firms do. And I would encourage, I think a lot of law firms are moving to that sort of model. And I would encourage, if you need any sort of predictability in your pricing, talk to your lawyer about switching to a flat fee model, or at least giving you a flat fee model, because it just has so much value to both sides.
Right. And it can even, count in how many times that includes phone calls or whatever. You can structure all that into it.
Exactly.
And I see that for me too, because otherwise it's really scary to figure out, well, is she really working those 20 minutes that I'm being billed for? And how do you exactly fit 180 hours into a 5-day work week?
Well, exactly. Yeah. And you get these clients who are like, well, I'm scared to call you because I don't know if you're going to bill me a 0.1. And I'm like, no, it's all the flat fee. If you didn't get a scope of work saying what the fee is going to be, you're not going to get an invoice for it, know? And so.
Yeah. I just did a scope of work like that yesterday. And I'm like, this is going to be much cheaper for you. And I'm going to get your work done in a better frame of mind. We're all going to be happy.
Yeah, exactly. Because you never want your clients to be in a situation where they're scared to contact you, right?
Yeah, I just said that to someone the other day. We'll leave that aside. Mm-hmm. So if people want to contact you, I do have a little bit of information. You can reach out, phone, email, check out your website. Your website is loaded with great information.
Thank you.
So those are things. So tell me how it's worked, because, it is 2021 and the pandemic did not end on December 31st like we were all hoping.
Right.
So tell me, our countdown clock did not work. Tell me how in the last year things have changed. What's gone on for you?
So this is actually the third year that the firm is open. I've been a lawyer. This is my 13th year being a lawyer, but this is the third year of my firm. So I'm already I'm still kind of taking advantage of that early growth anyway. And
Right.
so my 2020 I did have growth, which I'm very happy about.
Yeah.
And I do think it was slowed a bit by the pandemic. And some of the ways that we've adjusted, one is that I love that these online, like these virtual meetings have become commonplace now, because it does make it a lot easier for us, for the client. So that's one thing that I'm glad that we've all kind of embraced that. Another is that, like, just some of the tools that we have available and some of the services, being able to asynchronously communicate with people. Like I said, we're all about accessibility. So
Right.
being able to evaluate someone's IP and their business and their goals, and then, send them things instead of trying to arrange an in-person meeting and then watching a slide deck. And, it's just, I feel like it's kind of changed the way we engage and do business. So I'm pretty hopeful and pretty confident that all those things are going to stick around.
Yeah.
And the benefit to people is that it gives them access to, lawyers and other service professionals like you who may not be down the street from them, but who could be incredibly valuable to them. And so, I feel like it's, there's that advantage, but it would be nice to, go to restaurants again and travel.
Go to a networking event. You're right. I think, as we get busy, we can do a lot more one-on-ones where we're seeing people and talking to people,
Yeah.
Quote unquote, face to face, 2-dimension to 2-dimension, but because it saves so much travel time and lots of times it was a meeting for like just a few questions, but it still ended up being, a half-hour drive each way and waiting for someone and just like that. And so I think our day is getting better from that end.
Yeah.
But I really I was talking to Maureen Krause, who's the head of the Detroit Regional Partnership last week, a couple weeks ago. She called. We've become, over the last probably 10 years, we've become great friends. So it's really nice when we just talk. And she was saying that, the day is so different and what we're doing, but we were talking about if I knew someone or not. And she said, well, in the old days, we would talk on the phone, figure out the same place we're going to be. And you would know that I was going to introduce you face to face to that person, or you were going to introduce me face to face. And then the other person would walk away and you do your business.
Yeah.
That part has really, I think, hurt like the independent type workers like we are that kind of thrive on meeting people and making connections with people. So that's why the action group has been good for me. If nothing else, it means that, every other Tuesday afternoon I have to like get my act together to really participate and really see what I need. And people have been great for that. So
yeah, I mean, in your business as well as mine, it's all about relationships. And I think there's no question that relationships are easier to build in person versus over Zoom.
Yeah. Intros are great over Zoom, but then I think every conversation ends with, I just can't wait till we can grab coffee together.
Yeah.
Right now I'm backing in with friends, like back to back in cars so we can talk in the warmth. I had a picture up on Facebook the other day of us back, I pulled in, she backed in. So we were still like 8 feet apart in each of our own cars with the heaters on, sitting and talking. So it's tough. I miss my peeps. So, but we will get it will get better. It will put itself, it will right itself. And I think the things I'm trying to stay, here's my little thing. I'm trying to stay pandemic positive. With each month, I think I should make the letters a little bit smaller. But, I think there are things with everything. There's growth and there's things we're going to take away that we keep. And then there are things we're going to know we never want to deal with again. And so we're going to have that hybrid as we move through. So I just want to remind everyone, we'll take a moment to remind everyone, if you're watching, let us know. Dave Simon was on, so I'm saying hello to him. Dave and I went to I think junior high and high school together. I think
wow, okay.
yeah. And you might know him. He's in a lot of different places. Yeah. And then I also saw on your website you do stuff with the Kaufman Million.
Yeah, 1 million cups. Yeah, we actually had our meeting earlier this morning, and they're a great group for entrepreneurs who just need to connect with other people who've kind of been in the trenches before. Yeah, it's a fantastic resource. So
I actually took Doug Stone to his first meeting.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay.
Doug and I also went to junior high and high school together.
Yeah, it was funny. Like, since you started promoting this on LinkedIn, other people have been mentioning to me, like, oh, I saw you're talking to Pam Lippitt, and I'm like, how do you know her? So you're very popular, I've learned.
well, I don't know if I'm popular. My 7th grade self is saying you cannot use that word and get away with it. But I know a lot of people, and I try my best to keep connections live and going. Oh, someone just put up a heart for that. Let's see who it was. I bet it was Dave. Let's see. And it was. Thanks, David. So I try and keep connections live. My Pam knows everyone. Great. I don't know everyone. I didn't know you, Steve. See? It always surprises me how many people I don't know. But you know what? I owned my own business for a long time. And then I ran a binational chamber. So I met a whole different group of people that have become some of my closest friends through that. So as life takes you on its journey, I just don't kind of leave people in the back. And I think that Facebook, to an extent, so I have this separation in life. So Facebook are people that if I saw them in real life, I would know them and or have I could tell you something about them.
Sure. Yeah.
LinkedIn, not so much. No. But that's how I make the decision. That's how I do the differentiation, because I will say that I definitely post things on Facebook that I would never post on LinkedIn. And I get kind of annoyed when people post political stuff, even if it agrees with my political stuff. I just feel like it will disrupt the business flow of LinkedIn that we're allowed to have, and that makes it so much better. It levels the playing field, as you say.
No, I get it. Like, when you go to LinkedIn, you're more like business focused, business minded, and then it can be jarring to see like personal things on there or political on there.
Right.
Yeah, I'm actually not on. Well, I shouldn't make fun of Facebook because we're broadcasting live there, but yeah, I delete
my Facebook because of that.
Yeah, so we'll say nice things about Facebook, but I am not on Facebook. But I am on LinkedIn. So.
Well, you should be behind the scenes on Facebook so you can have your work page up. Yeah. So that or find someone who can, deal with that page. Because that is kind of sadly it's important.
No, it's a huge audience, and it's a good way to connect with people. But
I actually saw someone's post, and I don't remember who, but I did comment on it. That from a big defense company that she needed to bring someone in, and it's a defense company I've worked with before. She needed to bring someone in. So she was looking at websites and different things to get ideas of what people do and what their product and who, and she was shocked at how little information and how she really couldn't take a read of the company off so many websites. And I wrote, a website is not a static document. Right. I look at a website as a living, breathing document. And so it's important to continually update and put different information on, whether it's a different white box or something, beside the fact that it gets you up on Google search and all that kind of stuff. But just for your end users. I mean, I do the first stuff for clients, but it's for the second step. It's so people can go there and know things. So, tell me, so we're getting close. We've gabbed for about 36 minutes. So tell me if there's one thing that people should know about you and or the firm, what would it be?
So I would say, we really are, very small business startup focused. The way a lot of law firms operate is that they kind of have like their anchor client, and then anyone else who comes to them has kind of got to like squeeze into that model, which sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. And so we kind of, the benefit of building a firm 3 years ago was that I could kind of design it to be a lot more startup and small business friendly. And so, I think we're a little bit more flexible than, some of the larger law firms that are out there.
Okay.
So that's one thing. Another thing I would say is that, we're extremely entrepreneurial. I do treat my business like a startup. Like I've got my team of advisors. I've got a business plan. Like I do budgeting, I feel like a business owner who just happens to be a lawyer too. And so I do enjoy talking with my clients about some of their more, the business aspect of it, not just limited to, the IP issues. Like I'm happy to talk about the IP issues. Of course, I could talk about that stuff all day, but
Right.
I love like marketing. I love doing the marketing for my firm. I'm obsessed with my website. My advisors are like, you should put this on your website, but don't spend more than an hour doing it. I'm like, okay, I'll do my best. I love like all the different aspects of a business. Like I'm happy to talk about all of them just as a hobby. I just enjoy it.
Yeah. So I will say it's funny. The thing I talk about that people know the most, which is the craziest thing, is how because I would say I'm on the computer and taking notes on the computer probably 80% of the time.
Yeah.
But there are some, including I've even moved my calendar and just because of necessity and Calendly and all those kind of things. But my to-do list is still on paper.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I keep trying. I've tried all the different I've tried all the different apps, all the different places, through Outlook, through this, through that. I do best when I can physically write it down, and more importantly, physically cross it off.
I think that's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's no joy in my life better than crossing things off the to-do list. I'm also a firm believer in when there's a complicated task, breaking it out.
Yeah.
So I often give people advice because it's with starting a business is really important. Things can get very overwhelming, but when you break them out and say, okay, I'm going to limit myself to doing 2 things a day, one complicated, one easy.
Yeah.
I'll get it done. And so I enjoy that thought, that like away from the glare of the screen thought process. And I had a second person in one, not an assistant. She was a second person in one of my offices. I wouldn't want her to watch this. And she knows she was an assistant. But she used to say to me, okay, Pam, you have to use something for a month before you even tell me about it. Because every week I would come in and I'd be like, look at this, Karen. I think we should move to this. Look at this, And so she'd go and learn it she was great also. And then at the end of the week, we'd be like, yeah, no. And one time we actually found something that we really liked. And then at the end, she found at the end of the month, she came to me and she said, I have a problem. I said, what? She said, so apparently it's really expensive. And I was working in a chamber of commerce between Michigan and Israel. I was running that. And it was an Israeli product. And that's why we were so happy with it. And I said, you know what? Let's send them an email and ask if we can give them a membership for free use.
Oh, yeah.
And they said yes. They too were a startup. And I am still in contact with the person I used to work with. She now lives in LA. But we're still in touch. And for us, it was wonderful. And we always, in everything we did, we thanked them. And so for them, it was a great piece. So sometimes you have to work on those in-kind things in your business to make it work and make it successful. So it's kind of an interesting combination of things. And then the other thing is, so we can talk about the chamber for a second. Mm-hmm. So how long have you been a member of the chamber?
Not too long. I'd gone to an event, maybe a little over a year ago, kind of met some folks, so I was like on their radar. They were on my radar. Mm-hmm. But, so George, who leads our action group for your followers who may not know him, he and I share a wall. He's like literally right behind that wall, right behind me, that one.
Hi, George.
And so he had, I see him all the time, and we had gotten lunch a few months ago, right before everything shut down again. And so I was like, this seems like a good group, and I just, I'd love to get started with it. But it's a good chamber. There's a lot of service professionals in it, which is great for, as building a network. And because like a lot of times, like if you're the single point of contact for certain companies and they're like, well, I have this other need, and you're like, it's just nice to know who else can help them and who you trust and all that. So
and also so I will give away my little secret. For the people who wake up at 5:30 and 6:30 in the morning, do not reach out. I am not an early morning person.
I'm not either. No,
I am a late night gal. I have been since I was a little kid, and my mother gave up on me going to sleep and bothering me about that. Probably when I was 10, she would know I'd read till I'd sleep or watch TV till I wanted to go to sleep. She was up as well.
Yeah.
And so when I looked at I went to a few of the different action groups, and the action groups are for people listening, kind of like a BNI, but a lot less restrictive and therefore a lot more fun. And I looked at this one and I was like, 4 p.m. This is my sweet spot.
Yeah.
Not necessarily now, but when we get to come back in person. Because to be at a BNI group at 8, that's a half hour away, means I have to leave my house at about 10 after 7. So it just, and at the end of the day, I like to work early, get my work done. Yeah. And then in the afternoon, do things, do extras for me. So that's how we know each other. Anyone else from the group who wants to be interviewed or tell us about what you're doing, I'm certainly interested in that. So I will ask you the last important question.
All right.
You are on LinkedIn. Are you open to followers or connections?
Yeah, I accept pretty much all connections. I know that's dangerous to say, but yeah, I love meeting new people and scheduling one-on-ones and getting to know them. So I'm happy to connect with whomever, and anyone who's thinking about joining you on this show. Like, this was fun. I really enjoyed it, and you made the conversation very easy.
Thank you.
I can be a chatty person, so I. Thank you for keeping me kind of contained.
And what's good is I have like 3 notes on a piece of paper on the side, and that was it. So I enjoy doing this. It keeps the week fresh and the days fresh. So I will
very good at it.
Yeah, thank you. So also on Friday at noon, Brenda Meller from Meller Marketing, if you think, if Dave Simons thinks that people know me, people really know her. We are co-hosting my first Clubhouse is a co-host, and we're talking about turning conversations into clients and how that works. So maybe you'll join us. I don't know if you're on Clubhouse yet. If you have an iPhone.
I am on it. I've attended one thing through it. It was through 1 Million Cups, actually. I got an invite for a discussion there through it. But I'm still trying to figure it out, but if I can figure out how to do it, I will gladly join you.
Here's the thing. I think we're all figuring it out, and Brenda's really good at teaching. So she taught me a couple things on the one I was on yesterday. So with that, I will remind people to connect with Steve, to connect with me, and until next time, folks, this was a lot of fun. And Steve, you can stay on. We'll debrief after a little bit, but I'm going to end the broadcast. I'm going to thank everyone for listening now, listening later. Send us your questions or comments and we'll get back to you. Thanks so much, everyone.